The Fat Controller's Railway is known for its continued service of steam engines, but had recently taken interest in obtaining more diesels. This was much to the dismay of the steam engines, as the diesels who came were usually rude and unpleasant. While engines such as Daisy, Boko, Bear, and Mavis had proven to be friendly, they still dreaded the new arrivals. One morning, Gordon was impatiently waiting at the junction with a local train. 5, 6, 7, 8, he counted as Thomas bustled in with Annie and Clarabelle. Who do we appreciate? Practicing your numbers, eh, Gordon? The tank engine replied cheekily. Gordon wasn't amused. I'm counting how many seconds late you are, little Thomas. Thomas rolled his eyes. I usually get here before Henry, but since it's his turn with the express, you're here being a bossy boiler. Never mind that, Gordon scoffed. If we don't keep to time, they'll surely try to replace us with diesels. You know the Fat Controller would never let that happen. Sodor is a safe place for steam engines, so they'd best not try. Thomas was interrupted by a shrill horn as a big, menacing diesel roared through, startling the entire station. Out of my way, rust buckets, he hissed. I've got business to take care of and I want to get to it fast. Thomas and Gordon were left quaking and speechless. Want to bet? Sputtered Gordon at last. Thomas said nothing more as he departed. That evening, the engines discussed the new diesel at the sheds. His number is 1010, but he goes by the name Diesel 10, said Edward. Boko says to stay clear of him. 10 indeed, sniffed James. 10 out of 10 for terrorizing innocent steam engines. He's the most horrid engine I've ever met, added Henry. And what is that thing on top of him? Inquired Gordon. Duck shuddered as he recalled. Well, apparently he works at the smelters, so it's probably for picking up scrap. All the more reason to stay out of his way. Oh dear, I hope I don't run into him, groaned Percy as he was preparing to take the mail. Thomas just sat in his berth worrying to himself as his friends kept on talking. He could only hope that there wouldn't be as much trouble as they feared. Meanwhile, Diesel 10 pulled smugly into the Sodor Ironworks, illuminated by red light from the smelting shed. A pair of scruffy-looking diesels sat in the sidings. They had been brought in to replace Harry and Bert after they'd been sent away for the cruel trick they'd played on Stepney. Diesel 10 spoke up. It's time, Splodge, that we took this railway over. The shunters shot him an annoyed look. Actually, it's Splatter, corrected the purple one. And Dodge, added the green one. I ain't got time to say both names, snarled Diesel 10. Splatter and Dodge quickly shut up. As I was saying, Diesel 10 continued, this railway is laughably out of date, if you just look at all the old steam kettles that run it. Our goal is to retire them and send them to the scrapyards. And how exactly do we do that? Quipped Splatter. An evil grin spread across Diesel 10's face as a long, sharp metal claw emerged from his roof. Simple. Prove we diesels are superior, and Pinchy will take care of the rest! Diesel 10 cackled as his claw snapped. Suddenly, a spark flew and Pinchy fell right above Diesel 10's face. Ow! Oh, grease and oil! Did you mean to do that? Dodge asked innocently. I always mean what I do, the big Diesel grumbled. Diesel 10 meant some serious trouble for the steam engines. The next day, James steamed anxiously into the ironworks to collect some pipes. He was hoping to be in and out as fast as possible. Your trucks are waiting for you inside, snickered Splatter. James groaned as the doors opened. Waiting for him instead was Diesel 10 and his big scary claw. Look what we have here, some fine red scrap! Leave me alone, cowered James. He's looking nice and ready for the smelting pit, wouldn't you say, Pinchy? His claw crunched as if it were hungry. No, I'm not, James sputtered and ran back as fast as his wheels could carry him. Diesel 10 laughed maniacally as Dodge reluctantly collected the pipes to deliver instead. Later, Diesel 10 was out collecting scrap on the main line. At the top of Gordon's Hill, he saw Edward banking Henry with the express. What are two stray pieces of scrap doing with an express train? That can't be right! He reached out and snapped his claw at Henry. Big Green Engine shut his eyes in fright and aggressively leashed steam back at him. Edward was furious. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, he scolded, but Diesel 10 just continued to laugh. At Ellsbridge, Percy had been diverted into the runaway siding, as his stone trucks were playing their usual tricks. His brakes screeched as he hit the buffers with a thud. Can't handle a few trucks, puny pistons, Diesel 10 taunted as he passed through. Percy didn't dare speak. Toby, however, was fed up. Don't let him get to you, Percy. I'll soon set him straight. No, Toby! He'll tear you to pieces with that claw! Pleaded Percy as the tram engine followed the big diesel. Splatter and Dodge were shunting nonchalantly in the yard at Tidmouth when Diesel 10 rolled in and stopped under the coal hopper. Unbeknownst to them, Toby was eavesdropping behind some trucks. All right, Splodge, we've got ourselves a little idea. It seems that little green bug named Percy is a bit more accident-prone and relies on runaway sidings to stop. Don't we all? Mumbled Splatter. Precisely, affirmed Diesel 10. Without those buffers, the steamers will crash and we diesels can swoop in to replace them. And how exactly are you going to get rid of them? Groaned Dodge. That, smirked Diesel 10, would be a job for the boss! He raised his claw to make his point clear. Toby had heard quite enough. I've got to distract him. He rang his bell as loud as he could. Diesel 10 banged his claw against the hopper in surprise, and a big load of coal came spilling down. Thomas and Duck had seen it all from the station platform and couldn't help but laugh. The big diesel sat humiliated and up to his wheels in coal. Toby stifled laughter himself as he rolled away. "Oh, get you, you old teapot!" roared Diesel 10. Splatter and Dodge looked at each other awkwardly. Hold on, did you say more work for us? Splatter meekly inquired. Diesel 10 seethed with anger. Toby met Thomas and Percy that evening at Farquhar. He's planning on destroying the buffers on the runaway sidings. Unfortunately, he's now after me as well. You'd best stay on your own line until the Fat Controller returns from his business, Percy advised. Thomas thought of a plan. If Percy and I switch jobs tomorrow, he and Bertie can cover our passengers while I deliver his trucks from the quarry. Their drivers agreed, and the branch line engines went to sleep that night, ready to take a stand. The next morning, Thomas collected his stone trucks from Farquhar Quarry. Sure enough, waiting for him at the station was Diesel 10. You there, puffball! Where's the old teapot? Thomas took a deep breath, trying his best to be brave. That's none of your concern, although he's being a reliable engine unlike you. Diesel 10 growled and advanced towards the little blue tank engine. Not talking, eh? Splodge, corner him! Splatter and Dodge were sitting in the sidings, exhausted and cross from delivering their own trains. They'd finally had enough of being bossed around. You know what? Do it yourself, sniffed Dodge. Yeah, these steamers may be outdated, but at least they do the heavy work, remarked Splatter. Thomas proudly departed without saying another word. Diesel 10 crashed his claw in a fit of rage. Who needs you anyway, Splodge? Looks like one kettle is as good as another. He laughed maniacally as he began to chase after Thomas. Thomas puffed along his branch line, confident that he'd dealt with the situation when he suddenly heard the guard's whistle. His driver looked back and threw the regulator to full speed. Faster, Thomas! He's after us! Cinders and ashes! He whistled loudly to alert the signaler, but Diesel 10 roared past the box before he could be diverted. Now I'll get you, you little blue puffball! He roared. Not as long as you're on our railway! Thomas yelled back. You can run, but you can't hide! The big diesel taunted ferociously as they ran through Hackenbeck Tunnel. Duck, Pinchy! Thomas felt his steam pressure rising as he went faster and faster, his trucks rattling behind him. Percy was coming up the other line with Annie and Clarabelle. Run, Thomas, run! The coaches called out. Look out for the viaduct! It isn't safe! Percy warned. Diesel 10 snapped his claw at Percy as they sped past. The viaduct crossing the River Ells was very old and in need of repair. Signs had been put up warning the engines to go slow while the maintenance proceeded. Thomas tried to slow down, but his wheels pounded the bridge. He gulped as he felt the rumbling below and Diesel 10 catching up behind. The workers ran clear as a major keystone collapsed and a gap began to open underneath the rails. Horrors! Cried Thomas. He shut his eyes as he and his train thundered across the crumbling viaduct. They made it just in time as it gave way behind them. Thomas screeched to a stop and breathed a sigh of relief. Diesel 10, however, wasn't so lucky.
What? Wait! Stop! Pinchy! Help!
His driver jumped clear as he slipped and skidded over the edge. There was a big splash. Diesel 10 had landed face first into the hull of an old barge filled with sludge. He could only growl and sulk as the workers chewed him out. "You miserable oiler!" scolded the foreman. "You think you're so superior? Just wait until Sir Topper Matt deals with you!" Thankfully, the fat controller had returned from his business trip that day. He arrived on board Toby with some very stern words for Diesel 10. "Causing trouble to this railway is one thing, but terrorizing my engines is completely unacceptable," he boomed. "I shall send you back to the other railway and see to it that that pathetic claw of yours is removed."
"No, Pinchy!"
the once menacing Diesel whimpered. Diesel 10's barge was towed to Knapford Harbor, where he was to be loaded onto Boco's train to the mainland. Gordon and James laughed as the cranes lowered him.
"Not so scary now, is he?"
remarked Gordon. Diesel 10 growled and attempted to snap his claw. Out of habit, James couldn't help but flinch. A small grin spread across the Diesel's face once more.
"I'll be back, and before you know it, you puffballs won't stand a chance!"
"All right, let's just get him out of here," sighed Boco, and he chortled away with Diesel 10 evil giggling behind him.
"I hope he and that claw stay far away and never come back,"
puffed James. Unfortunately, this didn't end up being the case. The other railway chose not to remove the claw despite the Fat Controller's request, so Pinchy lived to see another day. And what about Splatter and Dodge? They'd never really hated steam engines, nor did they really care for working on Sodor. One day, they just decided to leave when no one was looking to find better work on the mainland. With no other engines willing to work at the smelters, the Fat Controller had no choice but to bring back Ari and Bert. To make matters worse, Diesel 10 was stationed at Vickerstown under the other railway's jurisdiction, and was even allowed to resume his old job of collecting scrap, albeit under heavy supervision from the Northwestern Railway. He'll still give menacing glares at passing engines, awaiting the day he can finally enact some form of revenge.